What a win. What a win. What a way just like to emphatically prove what we've been saying this entire time and to prove people wrong. Without Malik Monk, without Kevin Herter, last year in the playoffs against the Warriors, everything had to go right for the Warriors for them to be able to win in 7 games. Like we knew going forward, we're the better team. And even without Monk and Herter, we're just the better team. And they showed it, and they showed it in so many ways. And every single player who played, non-garbage time minutes, every single one of those 8 players played really, really well. Keegan Murray, 32 points. On the other side, you have Klay Thompson, a goose egg, 0 points. The future is now. Like, are you kidding me? 32 points on 20 shots, 8 for 13 from 3. Also, guarding Steph Curry for an entire half, the entire first half, and holding him to well under his average. Just an incredible performance, beating the Warriors by 24 points on both ends of the court from start to finish, almost a wire-to-wire victory. I think, what did the Warriors have? Maybe an 8-6 lead. And then from there, the Kings had the lead the rest of the way. Man, my adrenaline is still pumping. Like I feel like it's finally starting to, subside a little bit. I was at the game, got the shirt, feel the roar. And so it's interesting being at the game, having a different perspective on things. I haven't watched the game back yet. I watched the highlights. I didn't take notes while I'm there, because when I'm there, I'm there to enjoy it, because those tickets are way too expensive to not. And so I haven't had a chance to watch it back yet, but I'll do my best to try to not leave anything out. I'm sure there'll be some stuff that I forget, but we can talk about that later. But the Kings now have a date with the Pelicans on Friday, so between now and Friday, I'll be making a preview of that video, of that game, I mean. But let's get right into this game. Let's talk about how the Kings set up defensively, because obviously holding the Warriors to 94 points was just an incredible performance. And I said in my preview, I said the Kings are much better equipped to be able to guard Steph Curry. And now I did say I thought we would see Keon Ellis and not Keegan Murray. Keegan played really well defensively against Steph early in the season, like maybe the first couple of games. And that was kind of when it was like the Keegan Murray revelation defensively. But I thought Keon Ellis would be better suited. I thought that there were some times where Keegan, was a little too slow. I understand you want to put length on him. I thought Curry had figured him out a bit. But man, that first half, credit to the Kings coaching staff, credit to Jordi Fernandez, the defense that they drew up, because Keegan Murray was perfect. The way he defended him, obviously wanting to force him inside the three-point arc, constantly staying on his hip, but then also the way that the Kings defensively were set up, like putting Keon Ellis in the starting lineup and having Davion Mitchell be playing really well off the bench. It just gives the Kings so many options in terms of switching, handle Curry much better than they were able to. They were defending Curry with Terrence Davis in games 6 and 7 of the playoffs last year. Like the Kings are just so well equipped now to be able to deal with him. And so the way that they mixed up coverages of blitzing at some points, hedging at some points, and recovering, Sabonis was doing that, and he was doing it really well. Sabonis defensively in this game was amazing, and I think showed people why, like, I've been talking Sabonis up as a defender so much this season. He's been so much better than his reputation. People just think he's a bad defender, maybe because early in his career, because he doesn't block shots, but he's not. He's a really good defender now. Well, okay, maybe not really good, but like he's not a negative. He's a good defender. And so the Kings were able to force the Warriors inside the three-point arc a lot. And they forced Draymond to shoot from deep, and he made 2 of 4. It's like, okay, that's fine. If he wants to drive and try to create something, that's fine. If Wiggins wants to try to do something, go ahead. Jonathan Kuminga will live with that. I always thought that Kuminga would be the guy that went off in this game. And, it happened for a little bit early on. He went on a little mini run himself. And it was because the Kings put Sabonis on him. and Sabonis was just backing up, and Kuminga was making his mid-rangers. And, as the game went on, he just didn't make them at the same rate. The Kings stayed with the game plan, and it worked really well. And so you had, Sabonis guarding Trace Jackson Davis, Kevon Looney, Jonathan Kuminga. So the non-shooters of the team. You had Fox on Draymond Green, which we saw in the regular season and which worked really well, just so that when Draymond's setting the screens or when he's handling the ball, and whether it's dribble handoffs or just him creating from the mid post or wherever it is, Fox is able to switch. He's also able to harass, and the Kings were forcing turnovers. The Warriors turned it over 16 times, and we know that the Warriors are a turnover-prone team. At the start of the first quarter, it was back and forth, both teams hitting shots. It felt like the Kings didn't completely lock in defensively until after a few possessions, and then they really got it going. And there were very few times where I felt like Barnes was a liability defensively. And I think that's something we've seen more since Keon Ellis has been in the starting lineup. It's a lot easier to hide one guy than two guys. So when you have Kevin Huerter, obviously it's also matchup dependent, but there were only a few times where I felt like Barnes got caught on screens. I remember there's one, maybe the first Curry three. I think it was him that got caught on the screen, and then Sabonis had to, get out and contest. But for the most part, Sabonis didn't have to get out and contest on the perimeters, and that's a good thing because obviously, we saw what happens when the bigs have to get out on the perimeter and contest. You have Alex Len fouling a three-point shooter. You have Trey Lyles fouling a three-point shooter. But for the most part, the Kings did really good at fighting through the screens and forcing them inside the three-point arc. And I really felt like the first half was all about the transition battle. It was the transition battle and also just like the chaotic moments and the rebounding. Because something that the Kings have been really poor at is taking advantage of transition opportunities. And there are plenty of times throughout the season where the Kings squander opportunities and give the ball right back to the other team, and they go down and score. And so early on, the Kings weren't doing that. And they were winning the possession battle, which Mike Brown always talks about. And that was huge because the Kings weren't shooting all that, like they weren't shooting any better than the Warriors. They were winning the possession battle. And then, so the Kings get out to a pretty sizable lead. And, they were shooting well, but it was all about the transition and the offensive rebounding. And then the Warriors with Jonathan Kuminga they go on a little bit of a run, and then the transition battle goes the other way. And so you have the Warriors getting out in transition. You have the Kings, like Keon Ellis had that moment where he, in transition, did he dribble it off his foot or he just lost it? Something happened, and the Warriors are going the other way. I think, was it a Sabonis miss that then led to another Warriors transition? So they started getting out and running, and they were winning the transition battle. And that's how they got within 4 points. And so with the way the Kings played in terms of offensive rebounding and forcing turnovers and shooting pretty well, it was a little disappointing to only be up 4. Obviously, we didn't end the quarter strong. Fox wasn't really asserting himself offensively yet. And that wasn't the biggest problems. Like, he had his moments to stop some runs. I thought he had some really timely shots. And that's kind of what being a star is about, is he has to hit those timely shots. And I thought he did that pretty well, but just it wasn't great at the end of the first half. Sabonis, I thought, was playing really well offensively, though. And that was nice to see just because, the storyline of him not being that good offensively in the playoffs last year. And so it was interesting seeing the different looks that the Warriors threw at him, because there were times where they were totally backed off, and you saw Kevon Looney completely backed off. And then in the second half, I think they adjusted a little and got up on him because he took advantage of that space, not necessarily by shooting the jump shot. And I think his shot selection was good. I think he missed every outside shot pretty much, outside mid-rangers. But I thought the shot selection was good and kept the defense honest, even if he wasn't making them. But then also just taking advantage of the space that was being given to him, and then not turning the ball over from there, being in the middle of the court, but not turning the ball over, and scoring when the opportunity was given to him, playmaking when the opportunity was given to him. And then on the other side, the Kings were playing the opposite way. that the Warriors were playing, where Sabonis, whoever it was, well, not Kuminga, but if it was Kevon Looney, if it was Trace Jackson Davis, it's one of the big guys that can't go by him. He was playing all the way up and he was getting really good ball pressure. I was a little scared about the foul trouble that might come from that. And he did get called for one foul. And he also got called for a foul when he got stripped by Draymond. And so there were like a couple fouls where it's like, that's not one you want to take. And he was in a little bit of foul trouble, but the Kings didn't really have to try to build rotations around it. They trusted him, and he did really well to not pick up his fifth foul until the game was pretty much sealed. And so him defensively, like I loved that possession where he gets up and he hedges and then he recovers all the way and he blocks the pass to Trace Jackson Davis. And there had just been a possession before where, well, really early in the game in the first quarter where he kind of got caught sleeping. Trace Jackson Davis backdoored him. Draymond feeds it in for the easy dunk. That was, I think, their second basket of the game. And so this time it's kind of the complete opposite. And he's recovering hard and he's able to break up that pass. And then also just the rebounding, not allowing the Warriors to get on the offensive glass. They did a little bit in the second half, but that first half was really good from a rebounding perspective. Keegan Murray with 9 rebounds, that's huge. Sabonis, of course, with the 12. And just everyone was chipping in. And when Kevon Looney is only playing 9 minutes, isn't it a bit of foul trouble and just overall isn't playing well. And Trace Jackson Davis only playing 11 minutes. So they're only playing 20 minutes combined with centers out there, really. At least what I would consider, and then you're playing Draymond at the small ball 5, and he's not exactly going to get you offensive rebounds, not like the other guys will. And so the Kings did a good job of taking that away from the Warriors, which is a big part of their game. And then I just loved the way that Fox and Keon were being super disruptive, trying to get steals. I mean, Keon Ellis, this dude, like in his first postseason game, in his first big game, he comes out and he has 15 points on 3 for 4 from beyond the arc. He has 5 assists, beautiful secondary playmaking when he needed to. He has 3 steals, 3 blocks, and just knocks down the shots when we need him to. And I was just watching him in warmups, like the dude just doesn't miss from 3. He is a 3-point sniper. And I'm just wondering, like, at some point, is he going to like stay a 40% shooter for his entire career? Like, at some point he's got to drop off, right? Because the sample size, I mean, it's big for this season at this point. It's not a career's worth, but man, he's just such a good shooter. And if he can continue shooting anything like that, I mean, he's just a lockdown starter. And so the first half, it was almost the perfect half. It was almost the perfect half, but just got a little sloppy with the ball. Let the Warriors get into transition to cut the lead down a bit. But for the most part, other than the transition opportunities, you're baiting the Warriors into the offense that you want them to have. So you want Draymond shooting, you want Kuminga shooting the outside shots. You want Andrew Wiggins to have to do something, which he hasn't been doing all season long. And then from an offensive perspective, we have to talk about Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes, first half offensively was awful. And coming in my preview, I talked about how the Kings shouldn't be afraid to just pull him if he's having a bad game. And so it wasn't as bad as we've seen at some points. And like he was being aggressive, which usually is what I, get mad at him for not doing, is looking for a shot. And he was actually fine defensively. And so it definitely wasn't awful in the first half, but some of the decision making on offense was pretty poor. Like just too much ISO. Like I love that he's looking to drive, but then when it's not there, why are you forcing up a shot? You got to make quicker decisions and pass it out. In the second half, I mean, not much changed, honestly, other than he just knocked down some tough shots. And when he saw Klay Thompson on him, he was just like barbecue chicken. And we saw that when he set his career high earlier. When Klay Thompson's on him, he's scoring. But I don't really understand why we're going to Barnes ISOing so much. We did that quite a bit. And, I think when we had the big lead, it was about trying to kill the game off a bit and slow down the possession. And so from that perspective, I get it. But still, I felt like it was a little early to be playing clock that hard. And I don't think they resulted in good possessions. But before I talk about that, let's rewind a little bit. So start of the second half. It was a pretty chaotic start, to be honest. It felt like at any point, a couple 50-50 balls could go either team's way, and that would be the run. And that's kind of what happened. And it was the Kings that came out on top of that. So you had Curry getting going a little bit. And so Keegan was struggling a little bit. And that's kind of more what I expected the entire game. But in the first half, that didn't happen. But Curry got him a bit. He got inside and laid it up. Then he started working the perimeter and got some space. And so I love the change. Like 2 scores from Curry. All right, Keon Ellis now. And so throw a different look at him. And Keon played so well, staying on his hip, not fouling, which was really impressive. And Keon is just so disruptive with his length. And so the Kings, they were getting offensive rebounds. Keon was a big part of that in terms of the offensive rebounding. So was Davion. And there was a play where Keon gets out in transition. I thought he clearly got fouled. I think it was by Clay going to the rim. They didn't call it. They were letting everything go inside pretty much. That one I thought was egregious, but they let him play. And the Kings are able to come up with the 50-50 ball. Chaotic sequence, but it finds its way straight to Keegan for the 3. And you go up 7. And it feels like at that moment, it felt like we survived that chaotic sequence and came out on top of it. And I think that gave me definitely, but also maybe the team confidence going forward, going into the half. We won that first sequence of the half when the Warriors, they made some shots. Curry made a little bit of a run, and the Kings responded. And Fox came out more aggressive in that second quarter, getting to the rim, bullying his way to the rim. Fox took 25 shots, totally good with that. Hit 11 of them, 8 are threes. I would say that's a solid mix. He went 2 for 8 from 3, so not great. But, he was getting to his mid-ranger. If you're going to shoot 25 threes, okay, a third of them being, or 25 shots, a third of them being threes, that's not bad. And it wasn't like the ball was stopping with him and then he was shooting them. So I was fine with the shot selection from him. And he got the midi going a little bit, like not automatic, but still good enough to the point where he's hitting some tough shots, and especially the shots that stop the Warriors' runs. That the shots where the Kings need a basket, I think, every time the Warriors would go on a run, I'm like, okay, it's Fox's time now. And there was only one moment where I thought that, and then he came down and missed. Like every other time, 3, 4 other times, he made it and put a stop to that run. And so that was huge. And I knew he would come out more aggressive in the second half. He had 10 points at halftime. And so, of course, he was going to come out a little more aggressive and just try to assert his will on the game a little bit more than he had in the first half. And then the threes just started falling in that third quarter, right? Keegan's knocking him down. Keon, I think, had 2. Barnes, I think, had a couple. And the offense was just flowing. And then even towards the end of the half, I think it was the end of the third quarter. Maybe it was in the fourth, but I think it was towards the end of the third quarter, where there were just a couple plays where like it felt like the offense was going nowhere. You had Fox out of the game, I think it was, and I think this was like end of the third quarter and start of the fourth quarter. So there were, it was a bit of a stretch, but where the Kings, they kind of stalled offensively, or at least, the offense stagnated a bit. And so you needed individuals to step up. And that's exactly what happened. So you had like Trey Lyles creating something off the dribble, getting to the rim hard and finishing. You had Davion Mitchell, like he dribbled around an entire possession and then got a layup out of it. So Davion had a few of those moments. And that's what we need him to do. We need him to be aggressive. And when things aren't happening, I'm always confident. Like either put the ball in Fox's hands. If he's not out there, put the ball in Davion's hands to create something because he's so quick. And so one-on-one, he's really good. He went 2 for 9 from the field. He went 1 for 5 from 3. My prediction, not good about him going 5 for 6 from 3 on the game. Not good. I don't care. But he still had a good game. The shot was not falling. Like he had that one floater where they just gave him a bunch of space because they blitzed Fox up top. And, he missed the floater, but he got the rebound back. And so that's kind of, I feel like that sequence kind of showed the game he was having. He was taking what was given to him. He takes the floater, but he misses. Okay, he's having an off shooting game, but he gets the rebound back. He had 2 offensive rebounds. He had 5 rebounds on the game, and he kicks it out. And so him, Lyles, and then later Barnes, all three of them were huge in terms of trying to create something out of nothing when the Kings offense was struggling a bit. Because what we've seen without Malik Monk is the Kings be a good first half team and then crumble offensively in the second half because just nothing's happening. The game slows down a bit. And so having those guys being able to make individual plays was huge. I think it was in the first half, but even another moment where Trey just put his head down, got to the rim, got to the free throw line. The Kings shot really well from the free throw line, 14 for 15, which is huge. Obviously, we know they're the worst free throw shooting team in the league, so that's big. And then, yeah, in that fourth quarter, just the way the Kings were able to put away the game was through defense, running them off the three-point line. I mean, that was just every single time. Throughout the entire game, it was so impressive how they were able to limit the Warriors to 32 attempts from three and 10 for 32 from three. Because you could see Curry just searching out, trying to get those three-point shots, especially late when they knew they needed a three-point barrage to come back in the game. And the Kings did so well at not fouling, although there was that Alex Len foul on a three-point shooter. From what I saw, that didn't look like a flagrant to me. It looked like a monster of a man fouling, which is probably why they called it, let's be honest. But obviously not good there. But then Wiggins missed two, and then Keon gets the block when they get the ball back. So that went pretty well. But yeah, I think there were two fouls on three-point shooters. No, three. Curry got fouled for a 4-point play. But every time the Warriors would go on a little bit of a run, maybe the Kings offense stalled a little bit, it never got lower than 13 or so in that fourth quarter. Keegan hit a huge shot to go up 16, and just the way the Kings played defense for 48 minutes. I mean, it was so beautiful. I just cannot believe how improved this team is defensively. It's insane, and I love it so much. I love watching defense. I love watching good defense. And for my entire life, the Kings have never been a good defensive team until right now. Right now, they've gotten so much better defensively. And it's because they have two just pests out there in Fox and Keon, plus one coming off the bench in Davion. They have Keegan Murray. They have Sabonis, who's working his tail off defensively. And then you have Alex Len coming off the bench. I don't think I've mentioned him other than him fouling a three-point shooter. But, he came in and he just did his job like he always does those 9 minutes. I said, 8, 9 minutes for him. And he just comes in, he does his job pretty well. Dumb foul, obviously, but I can look past that. Rebounding the ball, contesting at the rim, making the right plays offensively with the ball, not trying to do too much. The Warriors definitely got a few more offensive rebounds in the second half, and I think that was always bound to happen a little bit. First of all, the Warriors didn't shoot well, and the Kings were limiting them there. And I mean, it was just insane how few offensive rebounds they got in the first half, considering, I mean, the Kings have to play scramble defense, but they were able to stay pretty contained. And when they force them into 2-point shots, it's a lot easier to rebound. And they got some more threes up in the second half. And so the offensive rebounds came a little bit more, but they didn't let it get too bad. And so you had, Domas, Keegan Murray. Keegan was so good on the boards. Just everyone chipping in a bit. Trey Lyles, always good for some rebounds. There was a point, midway through the fourth, Trey Lyles was out there, and they put HB back in. And HB up to that point, he had been better in the second half, but he hadn't totally broken through yet, with his ISO game in the post. And I was like, I don't love this. When you need to be just defending, chasing around the perimeter, not allowing any three-point shots, rebounding, not allowing offensive rebounds, because the Warriors are going to get desperate and go up after the boards. I was like, why are we putting Barnes back in here? I like Trey Lyles out there. Or, you put in Davion and go a little smaller. But to his credit, he came in, knocked down a huge three right away, and just started balling. And he was a team high plus 29. And he was out there actually working on the offensive glass too. And him getting in there and fighting generated some good looks. It generated that Sabonis dunk, emphatic slam. And so you got to give him credit for definitely proving me wrong, because he was able to turn things around in the second half. And I feel like that's something we haven't really seen much of from him, is to be able to have a bad first half, but then be better, a lot better in the second half. And so that was nice to see him be able to bounce back from a bad half. And then, of course, you have the garbage time unit come in. And I was like, please, please, like, I want JaVale to do something. I want him to shoot a three. He didn't get a three up, but still, that chase down block. Then he comes down from the 3-point line, slides past the whoever it was trying to take a charge and slams it. Then he gets the another block, but it's a goaltend. But still, that was very fun. You always know he's going to come in and he's going to put on a show. And so I thought that was a beautiful way to end the game. Coming in, I had confidence. I had confidence that the Kings would win because I had confidence that they were the better team. I can't remember exactly if like how much I said that I was confident in my preview, because I don't think I did very much, because I just don't like doing that in a one-off game where anything can happen. And so you can believe me or not, but I had confidence that the Kings were the better team, but I didn't think that they would just blow the Warriors out. I didn't think that they would play this well. Like, I thought it was going to have to come down to the wire, and they were going to have to grit this game out. From a Warriors perspective, I think looking at what the Warriors do with their rotations is always a little confusing to me. You have Klay Thompson out there playing 32 minutes, going 0 for 10. I understand that you're sticking with him because he's been a great player, and he's proven to be someone that can be relied on. Not as much lately, but throughout his career, he deserves the benefit of the doubt for sure. But you look at Jonathan Kuminga, he went 6 for 15, but had a good stretch. But really, you look at Moses Moody. Every time he plays the Kings, he's amazing, and I don't understand why he plays more. He doesn't play more, like 15 minutes, and then playing, Trace Jackson Davis, very young player, obviously a rookie. I think he's an older rookie, but to start him, then only play him 11 minutes, Kevon Looney 9 minutes, like I don't really know what they're doing. It felt like they were just searching for any answers, and they just wouldn't come. And that's because the Kings they're a different team, and I feel like the Warriors haven't completely embraced the youth like they should. Like, why is Wiggins even in the starting lineup? I don't understand that. Why is Brandon Podziemski only playing 24 minutes? Why isn't Podziemski and Kuminga and Moody, why aren't those guys the 30-minute per game guys? But I'm not going to complain, because I think if Moody's out there playing 30 minutes, I think the Kings still win. But I think the Warriors play better. I think next year they probably will embrace youth more. But while they're trying to figure that out, we will gladly reap the rewards. And I just gotta emphasize. I've said it so many times already, but like, every single guy, all 8 guys who went out there and played for the Kings, every single one of them had a good game. Every single one of them contributed in a really meaningful way. And every single one of them played within themselves and didn't force anything, unless it's Harrison Barnes, but he made shots, so shout out to him. But every single one of them played their roles so well. And you have Keegan Murray out here taking 20 shots. And, when Malik Monk and Herter go down, you need Fox to obviously take a bunch of shot attempts. We know that. You need Sabonis to be more aggressive offensively in taking the shots. So 14 shot attempts for him. That's good. Barnes with 11 shot attempts, solid, but you need Keegan Murray, right? He's the guy that has to step up, and he truly did. There are definitely still some moments where he's shaky in terms of going inside or in transition, and he's slow, so he's always getting the ball taken away. Like, he pump faked and just left the ball down low and got to get stripped, or it was a jump ball. I think a few other moments in transition where he hasn't figured out like how to attack the rim other than just straight line drive. You see occasionally a little bit of a euro, but I feel like it's either he attacks the rim and he goes up with it, or he's passing the ball. And so there's definitely improvement that needs to be made there. But you can see it's gotten better from last season, and him hitting 8 threes means it doesn't really matter in this game, but obviously still areas of improvement. But like, he just is the future, and I was so happy that he was able to show it on national television, show it to the world in a meaningful game. Obviously, helping us win this game is the biggest part of that. but for people to really see him, because he was solid in the last, what was it, 3, 4 games of the playoff series last year. Had a bit of a rough start and then figured it out, which makes sense for a rookie. But now to score 32 points, to outscore Fox by 8, I mean, that's incredible. And the confidence that he was shooting with, he was outscoring the Warriors early on as a team. Like, he was getting every single point. He had, like, what was it, 11 or 13 points early, and then he had a wide open three. Like, imagine if he would have hit that. The crowd would have gone insane. Insane. He missed it. He missed the ones where he was wide open, I feel like. Nah, he hit a couple, but definitely missed a couple wide open ones. He can't be wide open when he's shooting. He's gotta have some movement shooting. He's really the only guy playing for the Kings right now that has that real movement shooter ability. Because of course Kevin Huerter, I mean, that's his thing, movement 3-point shooting. Malik Monk can do it, I think, a little bit, but really that's Keegan's the only guy. Like, Keon Ellis is out here hitting threes, but it's when guys are going under on screens or he's just catching shooting in the corner. It's not off movement, and so that's what makes it really impressive. Like, he's hitting so many while moving, and those are just so tough to do. But like, not only scoring 32 points, to defend the best player on the other team as well for an entire half, and then even in the other half where he's not guarding him as much, he's still getting switched onto him. You can say the same thing for Keon Ellis out there with 15 points while playing insanely good defense. And so I think when you're just looking towards the future, Fox, Sabonis, Murray, Ellis, like, is that a 4 for a starting lineup that could go far? Keon Ellis, I think a lot of people always like to compare to the Nuggets because they have Jokic and the Kings have Sabonis, right? And so just from you're building around a hub of a center perspective. Fox, Jamal Murray, and then Keegan's MPJ, Keon, KCP, and then where's our Aaron Gordon? But I think Keegan can be better than MPJ, but obviously then Sabonis is worse than Jokic. I think Fox can be better than Jamal Murray, although Jamal is a playoff riser. But people love that comparison. So right there, like, we've always fit Fox, Sabonis, Keegan into those roles, and so now it's like Keon, KCP. But I just gotta say, I saw so many Kings fans before the play-in just wanting this season to end. And I'm like, what about now? Like, look at this. This is why, stop talking about Monk in the off season and, oh my gosh, what are they gonna do to get better? Like, let's focus on this season right now because they're not out of this. One more game to go, right? You got to win one more game against the Pelicans now. The Pelicans may be without Zion. CJ can't hit a shot against the Lakers, even though he's shooting 70% from 3 against the Kings on the season. BI not out there in clutch time. I wasn't able to watch that much of the game. They had it up before the game on the big screen. It was kind of funny. Warriors and Kings fans in Golden One Center cheering for the Pelicans together. That was kind of funny, but we didn't get to see the end of the game. So will Zion play? That's huge. I don't expect Brandon Ingram and CJ to be as bad as they were, but obviously being 0-5 against the Pelicans, like I said, I'll talk about this all. I'll have a better preview in a day or two. But for me, I was kind of hoping to face the Pelicans, I'm not going to lie, because you have the Lakers. We're 4-0 against the Lakers. You have the Pelicans. We're 0-5 against the Pelicans. So you're thinking, why do you want to face the Pelicans? And it's because, like, I don't know, I just hate looking like the Kings are 4-0 against the Lakers. It's like, well, that loss is going to come now. We're 0-5 against the Pelicans. Like, we've got to be able to figure this out. You know how hard it is to lose to a team 6 times in a season? Other than, playing a playoff series against each other. I understand it's a bad matchup, but man, just the law of averages. Come on. Like, no way CJ hits 70% of his threes again, right? No way Trey Murphy just can't miss. And so anyways, I'll get to that all later. But right now, I mean, I'm just enjoying this win. The beauty of the play-in tournament. We're not even in the playoffs yet, but it still feels like this season is amazing because we just won this game as the 9th seed against the 10th seed. I don't know. I just love it. The redemption from last season, all the story lines. Also, I didn't want to play the Lakers because it's like, man, it's exhausting. You have to play the Warriors, a rival. And you play the Lakers, another rival. Like, no thanks. It's already exhausting enough, one game against a rival. Just so impressed by this Kings team. I do worry maybe a little bit, like, this feels like, all the adrenaline from this game, then you kind of come down from it. It's like, can they get up for that Pelicans game? They better be able to. But, like, it feels good beating the Warriors. Let's go. It's like, you got to focus on the Pelicans now. But still, just last thought, repeat myself over and over again. So impressed with this win. So impressed. The way they were able to fight off run after run after run. Like, so many moments where it felt like the Warriors could start to come back into it, just put to a halt. Whether it was on the defensive side, the offensive side, both sides. Just incredible. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. I will see you guys in the coming days to preview the game against the New Orleans Pelicans. Peace.